It's finally happening, and the political establishment can't believe it. They're absolutely panicking. For 39 consecutive years, since 1987, one blue state in particular has not elected a single Republican governor. 39 years, nearly 4 decades of uninterrupted Democrat control. And yet, right now, for the first time in a generation, a Republican is leading in the polls for governor, and I'm not even talking about California. Stick with me to the very end of this video because we're going to see how what's happening in one of the bluest states in the nation is revealing an entire political realignment that's sweeping the country from coast to coast and may shock even the most optimistic Republican in November. Hey gang, it's me, Dr. Steve, your Patriot Professor, enjoying yet another glorious day in the Trumpian golden age that you made possible back in November of 2024. So if you want a front row seat on how you continue to change the world in ways you never even imagined, make sure to smack that bell and subscribe button. All right, let's get right into it. The state of Oregon is most certainly not supposed to be a swing state, and yet here we are. The polls confirm that this race is a dead heat in an otherwise solid blue state. A Hoffman Research Group survey found that the incumbent Democrat Tina Kotek is tied with her Republican challenger Christine Drazen, 45-45. A February benchmark poll had Drazen down by only 5 points within the margin of error, with enormous numbers of undecided voters. And this poll comes on the heels of another poll that showed that the other Republican candidate, Chris Dudley, he was leading Kotek by 4 points. They actually had the Republican in the lead. So this race is genuinely up for grabs. Drazen won the GOP primary on Tuesday, and the reason that's so significant is that means this is actually going to be a rematch in 2026. Drazen came within 3 points. I want to make sure you heard that right. Drazen came within 3 points of defeating Kotek back in 2022. And since then, their ultra-leftist failure of Governor Kotek has literally imploded in the polls. Kotek has been governor of Oregon for 4 years, and in those 4 years, she's achieved something genuinely remarkable. She's made more than 60% of Oregonians in a deep blue state disapprove of her performance. Her approval rating sits at a catastrophic 38%, the lowest of any governor in the nation. Now, again, remember, she's suffering a 38% approval in a state that votes Democrat literally by reflex, in a state with a Democrat registration advantage of nearly 9 points. And she can't even crack 40% approval. And the reason for that collapse is simple. Every single measurable outcome in Oregon has gotten worse under this woke disaster. Oregon currently ranks dead last in the nation, 50th out of 50 in 4th grade educational testing. Dead last. The worst educated young children in the entire country. In a state that's been run entirely by progressive Democrats for 39 straight years, and it's spent billions on education. Drug overdose deaths are at record highs. Homelessness has exploded across Portland and every major city inside Oregon. Housing prices have made Oregon one of the most unaffordable states in the country. And job creation? Oregon ranks 47th nationally. Bottom 5. And then there's the gas tax. Right now, as we speak, Tina Kotek is attempting to push a 6% gas tax on already suffering Oregon families. Gas in Portland already costs nearly $6 a gallon. Meanwhile, across the border in Boise, Idaho, it costs $4. That's a $2 per gallon difference between two neighboring states with the same climate, the same geography, the same energy market. The only difference, Idaho has a conservative leadership. Oregon has Tina. And Kotek's answer to Oregon's record high gas prices is to slap a 6% gas tax on top of it. That's not governance. That's a hostage situation. And to make it even worse, Oregon has a program that offers $30,000 grants, not loans, right? Grants to first-time homebuyers. As it turns out, illegal aliens in Oregon have been receiving these 30,000 taxpayer-funded grants for years. American citizens have been taxed to fund this program that inordinately benefits illegal migrants. And so it's no wonder that 13 of 36 counties, a full third of all Oregon counties, have voted to secede, to leave Oregon and join up with deep red Idaho. As many of you know, it's called the Greater Idaho movement, which would redraw the state border and attach these deeply conservative rural counties to Idaho. It's a movement that's been growing since 2020, and it represents the complete cultural and political divorce between rural Oregon, which is deeply, authentically conservative, and the Portland metro area that has imposed its radical progressive agenda on the entire state for 4 decades. The Greater Idaho movement is the proof of concept that the realignment in Oregon is real, it's deep, and it is structural, not just a temporary polling. In fact, here's how Oregon is politically structured. Take a look at this map. So this is from their last gubernatorial election in 2022. And if I were to ask you, who do you think won this election? The red team or the blue team? Who do you think? Well, it seems rather obvious, doesn't it? The map is virtually all red. But it don't matter. The Democrat blue team won by just 3 points, granted, but they still won. The Democrat won despite having lost 29 of Oregon's 36 counties. The Republican candidate won 80% of Oregon's counties, 8 and 10, and she still lost, Drazen. So if you remove just one county, Multnomah County, where Portland is, if you were to exclude that single county, Drazen, the Republican, would have won the governorship by over 10 points. So what all of this means is that over 80% of the regions in Oregon are experiencing intense political disenfranchisement as they're being ruled by woke Antifa-supporting politicians and policies that hate them and despise everything they stand for. But as it turns out, the governor is now the weakest any Democrat has been in decades, and this may be the year for these counties to strike back and strike hard. Wait until you see this. You know, when we talk about reclaiming our culture and rebuilding strong, resilient communities, we often think in terms of institutions, families, and values. But there's another layer to all of this that we can't ignore, and that's our digital lives. Because here's the reality. Your personal information is being collected and sold every single day by data brokers. Your name, your address, your phone number, even your relatives. It's all compiled and made available online. And with the rise in data breaches we keep seeing in the news, it's clear that the exposure of personal data is only becoming more widespread. That's why I made the decision to start using Delete Me. Delete Me is a hands-free service that removes your personal information from hundreds of data broker and people search sites. And what I appreciate most is that they've been leading the industry for over 15 years. They manage the entire process internally, and they verify your data before submitting removal requests, which is incredibly important. When I reviewed my own Delete Me report, I got to admit, I was honestly surprised. So many listings I didn't even know existed were identified and removed. And the time it would have taken me to track all that down, I mean, it's not even close. I wasn't sure what to expect, but I got to tell you, gang, I've been genuinely impressed. They've uncovered thus far over 3,000 listings, and those are already being taken down as we speak. It's not just a one-time fix. It's continuous protection, and it works. So take that step. Head on over to joindeleteme.com/Turley and use code Turley to get started today. It's a simple way to take greater ownership of your digital footprint. Oregon doesn't exist in a vacuum, and this is where I want to really sort of blow your mind with things, because the story of Oregon is part of a much larger national story, a national Republican political realignment that is building momentum on every front simultaneously. Let's start with the money, the lifeblood of politics. When it comes to cash on hand, the RNC, the Republican National Committee, is absolutely blowing the Democrats out of the water. Look at these numbers. The RNC right now has over $123 million cash on hand, debt-free. The Democrats are stuck at just over $14 million. This is absolutely insane discrepancy. Do you see what happens when you get rid of USAID? Right? Miracles can happen. $123 million to barely $14 million. The Republicans are literally out fundraising the Democrats 9-1. And to make it even worse, I mentioned that Republicans are debt-free. The Democrats are reportedly $17 million in the hole. There's $17 million in debt. That means the DNC started 2026 broke. Negative net worth. And think of all the money that they wasted in that Virginia gerrymandering fiasco that went down in flames. They poured tens of millions of dollars into that referendum only to have it literally blow up in their faces. And then there's the voter registration trends, what are perhaps the single most accurate predictors for how a general election turns out. The numbers continue to surge for the GOP month after month, state after state. In North Carolina, Republicans officially surpassed Democrats in voter registration for the first time in the state's history. Florida Republicans now hold a registration advantage of over 1.5 million voters in a state that was it was literally a toss-up state just 5 short years ago. Iowa continues its rightward drift. Pennsylvania is moving. The structural foundation of the electoral map is shifting slowly but unmistakably toward the Republican Party. And now, the latest news out of South Carolina. Did you hear that? Just today, just broke. The Senate Judiciary Committee just passed the new congressional redistricting map with 0 Democrat seats. All 7 congressional seats from South Carolina will now officially be Republican. It just has to pass a simple majority in their state Senate. That means that the district held by their lone Democrat, Jim Clyburn, one of the most powerful and ultra-liberal Democrats in the House, will officially be eliminated, and he will no longer be in Congress. So that means one more seat pickup, which is getting us close to as many 15 additional House seats from revised congressional maps across 7 states before November even arrives. So let's bring this all back to Oregon, because here's what ties all of these threads together. What you're watching in Oregon is not an isolated accident. It's a microcosm, a perfect crystallized example of a national realignment that's reshaping the American political map. For decades, Democrats could count on states like Oregon the same way they could count on the sun rising in the morning, right? Automatic, guaranteed, safe. And they took that safety for granted. They used Oregon and states like it as laboratories for every extreme progressive experiment that they could dream up. They banned voter ID. They legalized hard drugs and watched overdose deaths skyrocket. They threw money at homelessness and watched tent cities multiply. They ranked 50th in education, kept electing the same people who produced that same outcome because they thought Oregon voters had nowhere else to go. They forgot about Christine Drazen, who came within 3 of winning back in 2022. They forgot about the Greater Idaho movement. They forgot about what happens when you run a governor with a 38% approval rating in a 2-person race with no third-party spoiler to save you. The voters of Oregon are not a lost cause. They're not irredeemable. They are people who have watched their beautiful state get destroyed, and they want to take their state back every bit as much as we want to take our nation back. The American Golden Age is not a grift. It's being built brick by brick, vote by vote, state by state. And if Oregon can flip, if the state that has not elected a Republican governor since 1987 can look at 39 years of progressive failure and choose something better, then nothing on this political map is safe for the Democrats. Not Washington, not Minnesota, not anywhere. The political revolution is real. The political revolution is growing. And the political revolution is indeed coming. Gang, something is happening in Atlanta this summer that you genuinely do not want to miss. This is a gathering of people who think clearly, stand strong, and love this country. I'll be announcing the details very soon, and I can't wait to tell you all about it. Scan the QR code on your screen, sign up for our newsletter, and be the first to know when the details drop.